This is the lovely Toby Marina Lodge, pool area. There's the river. This is where you get your nice boat safaris down the Toby River.
I mentioned previously that in 1853, David Livingstone, in search of a waterway into Central Africa for trade and commerce and Christianity, went up the Zambezi River looking for that waterway. When he realized that was no longer navigable, he went overland to Luanda, modern-day Angola. He was with Makalala porters, and that trip took nearly a year, and they suffered intense hardship. He then returned to Linyanti. But on that trip, he saw for the first time the horrors of the slave trade. And from then on, he purposed to expose that slave trade to the Western world to try and put an end to it. He called it the open sore of Africa. Notice on both sides of the road now is heavy woodland. Most of the trees are Brachystigia. Monondo, Masasa, Mafuti are the Shona names of some of these lovely trees which change colour in the differing seasons.
Beautiful tree as we are traveling to our campsite in the Zambezi National Park. This is our campsite right on the edge of the Zambezi River, flowing down towards big falls that we're going to go and see in the morning. Look at the beautiful colour of the river. It's absolutely beautiful. Look at its colour. It just is sort of swelling with strength. No wonder it's called the mighty Zambezi. How lucky are we to be camping right on its bank. It's as loud as listening to the sea. Listen. I am absolutely captivated by the colour of this river. As the sky is changing, so is the river. It's just beautiful.
We're in campsite 10 on the Zambezi National Park, and this is the mighty Zambezi River. And it was quite heart-stirring last night when we considered that this is probably one of the places, or like one of the places, where David Livingstone would have spent the night as he made his way in 1855 down the Zambezi to the coast, still looking for a waterway that could allow people to come up and trade and bring commerce and Christianity up into Central Africa. His hope was that trade would undermine the trade in slaves and make it less lucrative, and that was his desire. And so he started his journey 1855 towards the coast, and it took him 6 months. Can you imagine the amount of water flowing down this river as the Linyanti and the Toby have joined it now?
We spent a magical night last night right on the banks of this mighty Zambezi River. We crossed over into the border with Zimbabwe yesterday afternoon, and we're in the Zambezi National Park. We've put our footsteps on all our Botswana places. We're going to go and see the Vic Falls this morning and then travel on to Zambia this evening.
We're at the Livingstone statue at Victoria Falls. This statue was erected in memory of David Livingstone, and it's got the words missionary, explorer, liberator round the base of the statue. David Livingstone in 1855, wanting to find a water route into Africa for Christianity and for commerce to undermine the slave trade, started the journey from Linyanti towards the Indian Ocean at Kiliman, and took 6 months by foot basically all the way to the coast. Several kilometers away, he saw a huge plume of smoke rising from this river, and learned from the Africans that this was called Moziotunia, the smoke that thunders. And he came to the falls here and named it after his queen, Victoria Falls. He was obviously not the first person to be here, but the first European to discover the falls and make it known to Europe, and excited their imagination. On a personal level, this town has significance for my family. The railway came to Vic Falls in 1904, and my grandfather was the station master here at Victoria Falls in 1918. And when my grandmother was pregnant with my dad, there was no hospital here in Vic Falls, and so my gran had to be taken across to the Northern Rhodesia side to the hospital there at Livingstone. And she went across the bridge on what was called a ganger's trolley, one of those things you push up and down to get across. And my dad was born in Livingstone on the Northern Rhodesia, now Zambian side. There are also a few memorial plaques that have been placed here over the years, and on the centenary of David Livingstone's discovery of the Victoria Falls in 1855, many people from different countries around the globe gathered to remember Livingstone's impact on Africa. And it's got the words here: they assembled solemnly to dedicate themselves and their country to carry on the high Christian aims and ideals which inspired David Livingstone in his mission here. Victoria Falls are one of the 7 natural wonders of the world, and David Livingstone went on record as saying something to this effect: that angels would have been stopped in flight to gaze in awe upon the majesty and splendor of this site. Brent's hanging on the monkey at Vic Falls.
I put my hat on top of Rory's hat and I did my monkey swing, and he doesn't know it's there. Rose? Rose? When are you going to realize you're wearing my hat?
The question is asked, how do you measure the volume of water going over the Victoria Falls? Now, it's a difficult question, and so I'm going to put on my thinking cap. I think the factors are volume, time, and length of the falls. So my suggestion would be that you get a whole lot of people standing very close, shoulder to shoulder, at the base of the falls, each with a 5-litre bucket. I think a 1-litre bucket would be too small and would fill up too quickly. Now then you calculate how long it takes to fill the bucket. Now, if it takes 10 seconds, you firstly multiply by 5 litres by 100 people's 500. Then you divide by 5 because you haven't got a litre, you've got 5 litres, so that's 100. If it takes 10 seconds, you divide again by 10 to get 10 litres a second going over the Victoria Falls, which, if I'm honest, doesn't sound enough. Anyway, also you've got to calculate, I suppose, for spillage in case anyone kicks the bucket. But I've got a friend, Harry, who's very, very clever himself, and he's prepared to coordinate a team to do this. He had the one question about what happens if people get wet. I suppose that's valid, and he's out right now buying umbrellas. So contact him. His number's 479-213-678-217. And he'll form a team, and you can try and see if you can calculate the volume. I hope that answers your queries.
This is a sign of my husband finally losing it too long in the bush.